Good day, my name is Tip Code. Welcome back to this Python course. In our last episode, we learned about variables, how to declare variables in Python. We learned about the naming conventions when you name your variables and the scope of a variable. In this episode, we'll be talking about data types in Python. Before we continue, if you are watching this video and you've not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscription button for more Python tutorials and don't forget to like and comment. But wait, why do you have to learn data types? Because in our last episode, we learned that Python is dynamically typed, which means when you create a variable, you don't necessarily need to indicate the type of data it will store. Based on the value you assign, Python would automatically detect the data type that it will store. So why do you still have to know the data types? Well, let's get into it. It is important to know the data types that you are working with. Because when you create a program and you are taking input from the user, you are telling the computer to do something for you. The computer doesn't know anything. Based on the instruction that put in there in your program, that is what your computer will be executing for you. So when you create a program that will take input from the user, and that input field is supposed to take an integer value, and the person is putting a decimal value there, your program will crash if you don't find a way of handle that possible error. So it is good for you to know the type of data that your program is working with and how to handle the possible errors. In Python, we have so many data types, but for this course, we're learning the most basic one. Those are you're most likely to use frequently in your program. So the first one is integer data type. Integer data type is just whole numbers without decimal point. Any number you can think of without a decimal point, either positive or negative number. So these are integer numbers. The next data type is floating point data type. So floating point numbers is just the opposite of integers. Any number with a decimal point is a floating point number, ranging from negative to positive numbers. The next numeric data type is complex numbers. These are imaginary numbers that maybe you are likely not to use in the program, but it's good for you to know that it is part of the data types. We have string data type, and that one just a sequence of characters enclosed single or double quotes. Can be numbers, can be letters. So these are string data types. The last one we'll be talking of is boolean data type. The boolean data type, these are data types that are used for logical operation in our program. These data types are used when we are performing logical operation in our program. Yes, so they have inbuilt values true or false. These values you can store them in a variable and you use them, or you just use it. Alright, so let's get into it and see how we can implement this in our programs. So these are variables I have created. Let's check the type of data type. So this, if you want to check, you use the type function to check the type of data. So we just print it. So the type of this is string. Can do the same thing for the int. Let's run our program and see. So you can see that the first one, name, is the string data type, the ID is a string data type, age is an int, and the height is a floating point data type. We didn't indicate anything there, but automatically it has detected it. The reason why they are assigning class to it is that Python is object-oriented programming. So anything that we are doing there, Python treats it as objects. So this is an object that we have created like that. This is also an object that we have created. So with this, let's write a program that will take the scores from a user and find the total average score of that student. We take the name of the student and the scores from the student. I'll create a variable to take the student name. Then, so I'll take the student name and we'll comment here. So a program to find the average score of a student, first we ask of the student's name and the score of the student. So I'll create 4 variables to take the scores. Enter the score of the first subject. I'll repeat the same thing. So these are the scores that we'll be taking from the user. Then we now find the average of it, the average score of the student. So we create a variable to store the average score 1. So the average will be the sum of the scores divided by 4. Okay, so let me put this in the parentheses so that it will sum everything for me. Then I'll just divide it by 4. Then I'll print the name of the student and the average score. The reason why Python is underlining this for me is because any input that you take from the user is actually interpreted as a string. So you cannot use a string to perform mathematical calculation unless you convert it. But let's run it so that you see a clearer view of what I'm talking about. This will actually give you an error because I'm using a string data type to perform mathematical operation, which is not possible. Okay, so the input that I will take from the user will actually be interpreted like this, a number but in a code. This one you cannot use it to perform mathematical operation unless we convert it to a form of this or that. So let's run it so that you see the clearer picture of what I'm talking about. Okay, name of student, subject. Okay, that's giving us error, type error, unsupported operand, types for string and integer. Like I said, this input that you take from the user is interpreted as a string. You have to convert it to a numerical data type so that you can use it to perform numerical operations. So how do you do this? We can achieve this by using the integer function or the float function. So to convert this to an integer, just copy this everything, input, use the int function. This is the int function. So what you now want to convert, put it there. I'll do the same thing for all of them. Let's run it and see. So I'm done with my scores. Press enter. So it has given us this average score to be 79.5. This program will only take integer numbers. So if I attempt inputting floating point numbers, then it will also give me an error. So when you write your program and you give it out for the user to use, all these are possible errors that you have to take into consideration. All right, let's try inputting floating point data type and see what will happen. It has given us error because we are using integer to take a floating point number, which is not possible. So we have to find a way to convert this. So we can also do so by just changing this to floating point. Use the float function to convert it. Okay, so in this case, our program can now run successfully. First, we take the name there to take the. So let's run it and see. So this is it. Average score is equals to this and that. So basically that is it. Thank you for watching. If you are watching this video and if not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please kindly help me by subscribing and liking the video. This will help me reach larger audience across the globe. In our next episode, we'll be talking about operators. See you in the next episode. Let's get into it.